You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Another federal judge blocks a Trump attack on American democracy, based on an article by Brett Wilkins. Trump tried to turn the mail into a voting filter. The target was never the mail. The basic move here was simple: use a presidential order to make voting harder under the pretense of security. The administration tried to force the Postal Service into policing mailed ballots with unique barcodes, envelope logos, and new delivery conditions tied to voter file surrender and Homeland Security approval. That is not administrative housekeeping. It is federal interference in how states run elections. Who holds power? The power in this story sits with the White House and the executive agencies it tried to commandeer. Trump issued the order. USPS was told to help enforce it. DHS was pulled into voter eligibility screening. And the threat of criminal punishment for state and local officials who refused compliance made the coercion explicit. That matters because the Constitution does not give the president ownership of elections. State and local officials administer them. The administration's entire theory depends on pretending that executive power can override that structure when it is politically convenient. The court saw the graft. The First Circuit did something unusually basic. It named the constitutional line the administration was trying to cross. The majority recognized that Trump's order would inject substantial involvement from the Postal Service into decisions about which ballots get delivered at all. That is the point where election administration stops being administration and starts becoming suppression. Judge Joshua Dunlap's partial dissent is not the center of gravity here. The center is the majority's refusal to launder an obvious power grab as a technical dispute about postal procedures. When a government uses delivery rules to shape who can vote, it is not regulating the mail. It is rigging access to the ballot. The real pattern is federalized suppression. This order did not appear out of nowhere. It fits the same pattern as the broader Republican attack on voting rights, proof of citizenship demands, strict photo ID rules, and paperwork traps sold as integrity measures. The logic is consistent because the goal is consistent. Make registration harder. Make ballot access narrower. Make compliance more burdensome. Then call the damage accidental. The source also notes that the order would have required states to hand over unredacted voter files to DHS so a national database could be used to approve eligibility. That is not neutral verification. It is an unprecedented federal incursion into state authority dressed up as anti-fraud policy. The story's real scandal is not confusion. It is intentional overreach. The Senate stalemate is not innocence. The House already passed the updated Save America Act. The Senate has stalled it because it lacks the 60 votes needed to break a Democratic filibuster. That is not symmetry. It is one chamber advancing a voter suppression bill and the other using the only available procedural brake to stop it. Still, the larger lesson is not to romanticize process. Courts are blocking the worst of this order for now, and Senate rules are buying time. But the machinery that produced this attack remains intact, an executive willing to weaponize agencies, a party still invested in shrinking the electorate, and a political culture that keeps forcing voting rights into defensive litigation instead of durable protection. What this story really shows: this is what modern authoritarian politics looks like in the United States, not tanks in the street, but agencies repurposed against the public, not a formal repeal of democracy, but a steady campaign to make participation costlier, riskier, and easier to obstruct. Trump's order tried to convert the Postal Service into a gatekeeper for the franchise. That is the logic to watch. Suppression rarely announces itself as suppression. It arrives as procedure, fraud prevention, and administrative reform. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Alternet for today's article. With the automated voice of Sam, thanks for listening.